overall, you are saving money. You are never paying more for the community solar credits that appear on your bill. You're always paying less for those credits, and those credits reduce the amount that you owe to the electric utility.
One topic that we have mentioned in previous episodes that I promised we would talk about more is community solar. Today is that day. Community solar is the perfect program for people who want to have the benefits of locally produced solar power, but aren't able to have rooftop panels. It's another great way that joining the fight against climate change can save you money. This is Plugging In. I'm Barry Wygel. Welcome to Plugging In, powering our way to a brighter and healthier New York. I'm your host, Barry Wygel. Each episode on this podcast, we will discuss a different topic related to clean energy, explaining complex topics in a way you can understand. Become part of the community as we help to make a brighter and healthier New York.
As the sun crests on the horizon, a new day dawns in our state. A new hope for tomorrow is rising, a clean future we create. Tomorrow we breathe easier, tomorrow the skies are clear. Today we are plugging in, the future of New York is here.
Joining us on this episode is Kate Daniel. Kate is the Northeast Regional Director for the Coalition for Community Solar Access. Kate, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So some groundwork information laying here. So what is the difference between community solar and utility scale solar? And especially from like a customer citizen perspective, what is the difference for them?
So the biggest defining characteristic between community solar and utility scale solar is that community solar exists to serve a customer, and customers can directly participate and benefit from that project. From the perspective of developing a solar project, community solar projects are typically 1 to 5 megawatts in scale. Size-wise, those are projects that are about 5 to 50 acres, so often existing on unused portions of a family farm or other plots of land, sometimes on large warehouse rooftops. They're really the projects on the large side of the distribution scale of distributed energy. So they typically interconnect to the distribution grid rather than the transmission grid. And then, as I said, they are exist to serve a customer. So all of the energy that's generated is distributed to participating customers in the form of bill credits.
Okay. And we'll get much more into what all of that means. So when these projects are online, they feed their power directly to a utility versus the wholesale market. Is that the big difference there?
Yeah, that's correct. So goes onto the grid, the distribution utility manages that power, assigns it, and does a processing of the bill credits that then go to the participating customers.
Okay. And the bill credits are the most exciting part for the consumer, so we're saving those for a little bit later. But
that's right.
When these projects are proposed and built, are they owned by the utility company, or is it like utility scale where there is a private entity that builds them?
In New York, they are owned by and built by third-party solar developers. And we think that's a really important part of healthy and strong community solar programs. And one of the things to note is that is what makes the 2.5 gigawatts of community solar in New York, something that builds to the economy. It creates good paying jobs and it attracts all this private investment into New York State. These developers are funding on their own dime upgrades to the distribution grid when they interconnect their project to make sure that that project can interconnect safely. And those upgrades are things that benefit customers across the state, whether you participate in that project or not.
Okay. So we're going to get to bill credits because that's, again, what people are going to see the most benefit of. How do you know if you're eligible for these types of programs?
If you are a utility customer in New York, you are eligible to participate. An investor-owned utility customer, that is. So it's one of the wonderful things about community solar is that it is very accessible. and it is designed to be accessible for customers. There are some specific programs that target low-income customers that try to deepen the savings available for those customers. But there are still programs that anybody can participate in, regardless of your income status and regardless of the home you live in, whether you own it or rent it, whether you have control over your roof space and can put solar panels on your roof or not.
So what's the limiting factor? Is it just the amount of capacity or projects that have been built in New York? Why can't everyone sign up tomorrow?
That is essentially the limiting factor. But right now, there is nothing stopping somebody from signing up if they're interested. Eventually, we'd love to see everybody served by clean energy, and community solar today is that way for customers who don't have access to rooftop solar to be able to provide those benefits. And, Barry, when I think about why community solar exists, it solves a lot of problems, right? But we estimate that 2/3 of American households, and that's a majority, don't have access to their own rooftop solar. So that's for a number of reasons. It's the orientation and the pitch and the structure of a home's roof. It's customers who live in multifamily housing. It's the 35% of Americans who rent their homes instead of owning their homes. And then it's the remainder of folks that don't have the several $1,000s it takes to invest in their own rooftop system. And so that's really why community solar exists, is to take this really wonderful resource that does a lot of good for our grid and our environment, make it accessible to everybody, and make sure that folks see those benefits directly by bill savings.
So let's get to that. So to reward people for making it this far in the podcast, how can you save money through community solar?
If you enroll, typically, especially in New York, you are likely to save around 10% on your electric bill. Community solar works by providing bill credits to the subscribing customers for their portion of the project. So once you enroll, you'll see bill credits on your electric bill. Typically, you pay a community solar provider for those credits, but at a discount. And so if you receive a 10% discount, you might see $100 of bill credits on your electric bill. You may have to pay $90 to the community solar provider, resulting in $10 of savings on your electric bill.
Yes, and that's the confusing part. So I think that's the part that people kind of, it's like, okay, is this a risk? Is this an investment? I'm buying this, but I get this back. So I want you to repeat that part. And then I'm going to ask you what the catch is. But so on your bill, it's not just 10% off your bill, just straight up. That would be too easy. So explain just one more time how that process actually works.
Yeah, so I've heard before it described as like a Groupon for electricity.
Okay,
almost.
Yep.
So when you subscribe to a community solar project, you are receiving the bill credits, which represent the generation of that portion of your subscription. So the project generates a certain amount of electricity. You are signed up for 1% of it. You translate that electricity into the monetary value that appears on your electric bill. And then you provide a payment to the community solar provider for a portion of those credits, but ultimately it works as a net savings model. And so one of the things that's really great about New York's program is that it offers the opportunity for a single bill system where the credits appear on your electric bill and the payment to the community solar provider is handled by the utility. So all you see is that, in that example, the $10 of net savings on your electric bill. Now, some providers still do a two-bill system where you would see the $100 of credits on your bill, but owe a separate payment of $90 to the community solar provider. But again, overall, you are saving money. You are never paying more for the community solar credits that appear on your bill. You're always paying less for those credits, and those credits reduce the amount that you owe to the electric utility.
So no matter what, you can't guarantee it's going to be a full 10%, I think is the point, but it's never going to be more. You're never going to have to pay $110 for your $100 investment.
That's right, particularly if you're participating in the single bill program. Community solar is sometimes confused with other offerings that are available, including retail supply offerings, so receiving your electric supply through a competitive electric supplier or an ESCO. Those are offerings that usually include some element of renewable energy, but may or may not be a savings product compared to what you would spend for electricity from the distribution utility. Community solar is very intentionally different than that. And the whole concept, again, is trying to take this product that has existed for customers for a long time in the form of rooftop solar and translate it into something that works for customers overall. And so the idea of the savings is really recognizing that these customers are making an investment in clean energy that provides a value to the grid. And so they are receiving some of that value in those bill savings. The level of savings varies between community solar offerings, but yes, you don't pay more for those credits than what they reduce your bill by.
So I was going to ask, what's the catch? But I should ask, is there a catch?
There's really not. And it's one of the most commonly received questions that we get. And there's a lot of skepticism, and that's fair. I mean, there are a lot of products out there that have a hook that sounds too good to be true and catch somebody in an agreement that they then come to regret. But in terms of community solar, you are simply signing up to receive local clean energy at a discount. You can also, if it doesn't work for you for whatever reason, you can cancel your subscription agreements. And the terms for that may vary across the agreements, but we hold a best practice to recommend that providers don't have cancellation fees. And we really find that people don't cancel because it works for them.
So what are the steps to start saving?
I recommend that folks look at NYSERDA's webpage for community solar. If you just Google NYSERDA community solar, they have a really helpful page that describes community solar and then also has a tool to help match people to projects near them. And you can even filter for projects that are currently available and accepting customers. That's a really great way, I think, to start your journey here is to go to that website, look at the projects that are near you and available. And then they also have some really helpful information about how to compare the offers and how to understand the agreement that you would have to sign. So once you identify a project that you're interested in participating in, it's a very simple enrollment process where you contact that provider, usually fill out a very brief form with some basic customer information. They then review a recent copy of an electric bill to determine how large your subscription should be. And then you sign a agreement and receive a plain language customer disclosure form. And then usually within a couple months, you'll start seeing those bill credits appear on your electric bill.
You said it's a pretty easy process. It sounds like a pretty easy process. In terms of time, how much would you estimate it takes to go through this whole process, sign up?
5 minutes.
That seems pretty good for a 10% reduction on your bill.
And knowing that you're supporting a really great thing, decarbonizing our electric system and providing local projects that bring a lot of economic benefit to the region, jobs and lease payments for the landowners. It's a really great tool in our tool belt, and we're working every day to make it available in more places and to make sure that it continues to work really well for New Yorkers.
Yeah, it seems like everyone needs to be doing this.
Excellent. Well, really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Plugging In. I hope you learned something, and I hope you share this knowledge with someone else. It would be incredibly helpful if you leave us a 5-star review wherever you found this podcast. If there's a topic you would like us to cover in the future, or have a question about clean energy, send us an email at podcast@aceny.org. You can follow us on social media using the links in the show notes, or consider joining our Clean Energy Supporters mailing list at aceny.org/support. Your support is crucial to creating a brighter and healthier New York. I'll see you next time.
As the sun crests on the horizon, a new day dawns in our state. A new hope for tomorrow is rising, a clean future we create. Tomorrow we breathe easier, tomorrow the skies are clear. Today we are plugging in.